my birthday today, and when my wife was asking me what I wanted for my birthday, I said, well, I'll send you a list, but before I do...
And you got all the way down to W, and so here I am.
Welcome back to Leeds. Leeds has featured quite a bit in your life, hasn't it?
Reasonably so. Is this thing working? Can we hear? Yeah, are we good? Yeah. Well, I did think it would be a good idea to move to Yorkshire in the late 90s, and I would say the quaint, picturesque village of Darrington. I spent more time there, you know, within sniffing distance of the Haribo factory in Ponty. So yeah, I was an honorary Yorkshireman for
what was your favourite Haribo?
They're not in my sweet all-time top 20. You know.
What would that be?
Well, I know this is going to cause controversy amongst the crowd, but up there would be the plain chocolate Bounty.
Yeah, I'm up there with you.
See, that's why I get asked to do these things, because of the controversial nature of my statements. And I can draw a crowd like that. It's going to get worse, my friend.
I know. I can feel it already. Yeah. So welcome back to Leeds. And so when you were up here in the 90s, what was that? So you know, you came for love.
Love and yeah, mainly love, slightly for financial reasons as well, because obviously you can get property a bit cheaper around these parts. This is what you came for, wasn't it? The property chat. Homes under the hammer. Yeah. Well, no. I had a very nice old kind of vicarage with a little bit of ground and stuff at a price that I'd probably get a kind of, not so much a room, or a suitcase with doors in London, you know. So that was part of it. Yeah, and it's. I mean, I've traced my family tree a little bit, and I am kind of. There's a village in Carlisle called Weatherall, which is without the A, and that's. I think that's the family seat, and from what I can gather, we were kind of feudal barons that misbehaved, and
so there's a definite lineage.
Oh yeah. I've kept up the family black traditions quite admirably, and we misbehaved in the Carlisle area, but because we were feudal barons, we were banished to Ireland, I think, where we did pretty horrible things over there, and then got sent back to Carlisle. But I'm not sure on the entire details, but I think that's the kind of family story in a nutshell. So there is a kind of some northern DNA coursing through my veins, if DNA courses through your veins.
And then you had that trip back to London, but right before you came to Leeds, I mean, the first time we ever met was when you came to Basics, which is what, 20
so
years
this is the problem I have with kind of remembering stuff, and it's why I've never, you know, I've been asked to do biographies and contribute to films about the history of Acid House, but I have very little memory of my actual history. If I was to do a book, I would have to arrange a series of dinners around the country with people that were involved, and that would actually probably be more interesting than the actual stories that come out of it. But yeah, I just remember that I think meeting Mr. Beer and people up here, and realising there was an enthusiasm that went kind of beyond, you know, don't get me wrong, London's the best city in the world, but it's very fickle. But the further north you go, the more it's less about fashion, and once you've proved yourself, people will stick with you. You know, it's particularly true here. It's particularly true in Glasgow. That yeah, there's a certain amount of come on then, entertain us, you fucker. You know, like, but once you've done it, once you've done it, once you have kind of done the job, people will stick with you, and that's the impression I got when I first met Dave and yourself. That there was an enthusiasm and a love for what you were doing that wasn't just a kind of fickle fashion thing, you know? I can never accuse you of being fashionable. Stylish, yes. Fashionable, no.
Stylish is not a word.
There's a massive difference between style and fashion, my friends.
I don't even know what either of those words mean, but, you know.
Well, style places you outside of time. Fashion's about competition. And being off the moment, but style, I think, takes you outside of any time span, I think.
And so where do you fit?
So fashion is just something you do until you develop your own sense of style.
Or stupidity.
It's not one of mine, that's William Hazlitt said that in about 1810 or something.
So basics, and then you came to a night that Dean Kavanagh, the gentleman sat over there on our
Oh,
left.
I remember it was Adrian Sherwood, was it not? Yeah. Yeah, that was amazing because Adrian Sherwood, a massive hero. I was in awe of the fella, and we had to go and pick him up at his house, and I'd never met him before. I'd only seen the odd picture of him, and he was just this mythical creature. And knocked on his door, and oh, you ready to pick me up, are you? He went, yeah, come in, what do you want, speed or acid? But it's all right, Adrian, no, I'm fine for the moment, thank you very much. And then we drove, he'd just been recording with Bim Sherman, the late great reggae singer, and we drove. He said, oh, do you mind if we listen to something? Yeah, and he put on this Bim Sherman, this new production. And from London to Leeds, it must have gone round 3 or 4 times, and we were just in complete silence and awe at this beautiful production.
And Skip MacDonald was with you as well.
Was he?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I just remember the speed or acid and the Bim Sherman. Funny enough.
And it's funny that you talk about Adrian like that, but certainly for us, and when Dean was booking you, the things that you were doing then and the way that you shaped things, and I'm going back now to Loaded and how you were working them, because this is quite a few years ago now, and undoubtedly you have got a style now, or a series of styles. But when you were doing Loaded, what did you
What were
base?
you up? What were you doing?
What were you?
I don't know, Chris. I have no idea.
Tell me.
I have no idea. I'd been in the studio a couple of times before. I think the first thing I did was a track called Je Suis Soul, which was one of the guys out of Le Mange, I think the East India Company. I did that with a guy called Chris Weston, who later became Thrash and was part of the Orb. I think I'd been in the studio with Paul Oakenfold to do Hallelujah, but they weren't, I was still kind of feeling my way. I still felt like a little bit of an interloper. And I got asked to do Loaded, and in this little studio called Bark Studios in Walthamstow, with and the engineer was a man. I don't want to sort of cheapen the legend of Loaded for you, but it was done. The engineer who did it with me was responsible for Star Trekking across the universe. Do you remember that? I hope that hasn't spoiled the love. I hope now that when Loaded comes on, you don't start thinking Klingons on the starboard bow or anything. But and I did basically what happened. I've become friendly with Jeff Barrett, who was doing press for Creation and Factory and various labels. And he gave me a Primal Scream album, and I loved it. And I went into his office, and he completely, everybody else hated it, and I really loved it. And he kind of engineered us getting together, and I actually met up with Andrew Innes a Spectrum night, which was at Heaven on a Monday. And he said, oh, I hear you like the album, do you want to do this track? So we went into this little Bark Studios. And I did a version, basically, all I did was just kind of leave the arrangement the same with the vocal and stick a dirty grey kick drum underneath it. Because I didn't want to upset them, I didn't know, I wanted to tear it apart, but I didn't want to upset anybody. I was new to this game. I did a version, and they came in and I listened to it, and I could tell they were disappointed. And I said, I'll have another go at it. And Andrew Innes, a guitar player and leading and songwriter with Bobby, his words were, just fucking destroy it, man, just fucking destroy it. And that was a really good thing. That kind of I've still got that growly Glaswegian advice every time I start a remix, just fucking destroy it in my ears to this day.
So he set the template.
So he said, but then again, also it was a part. I've got a reputation of kind of going against the grain, but it's not a conscious decision, because when I got into music accidentally, I had a good record collection. People asked me to DJ, and back then, I started DJing sort of early 80s, and that was at a time where you could get a job for a couple of months, save up some money, go on a bit of a spree, jack it in, go on a bit of a spree for a couple of months, sign on, go back to work. It was different times. It's hard to describe, explain to people what it was like. You know, you'd go and sign on, and there would be men standing in the queue to sign on, covered in brick dust with bags of tools, spirit levels over their shoulders and stuff. You know, it was a bit more slapdash than the approach to benefits that we have these days. And I just thought, well, you know, music's just something that I can do. You know, it's another job. I like it. You know, I've got a good record collection. I'll do it for 6 months or a year, jack it in, and then do something, get a proper job. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it on my. It's got to be fun. I don't want to end up falling out of love with music. Yeah. So I'll just do this on my own terms, because if I'm only going to do it for 6 months or a year, I might as well have fun doing it. What
was in those early bags of records from that collection?
Oh, well, there was bags. It was plastic bags, and I remember I got asked to do a shum party out in the country. It was on a farm somewhere in Wiltshire or something. I can't remember. And God bless them, they were trying to, you know, that whole early acid house thing was about recreating Ibiza in various shitholes around the country. And,
with rain.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of and at Amnesia, they always had a foam party. They filled the place with foam, which is great in a pristine club in the Balearics, but in a barn which has still got remnants of cow shit and hay on it. Obviously, as soon as the bubbles hit that, it was just this foam party. But it was just just sort of brown foam with bits of straw hanging out of it. Not quite the glamorous kind of Ibiza foam party. But I remember taking my records. I had a Woolworths plastic carrying case, and as I got off the bus, I picked it up like that, and it just fell apart. Great, and my records went everywhere, and it had some in plastic bags. But it was a mad mixture of stuff. It was kind of post-punk stuff, a bit of reggae, some disco. You know, I didn't consider myself a DJ. I didn't mix or anything. I was just a kid with weird records that played at 6 o'clock when everyone else was too twatted to operate machinery, really.
So that mixture of stuff, where did that come from? You know,
Well, I've been collecting records since from the age of kind of 10 or 11 years old. You know, I was lucky enough to have gone through glam rock. You know, when I was born in '63, so mid-70s, there was glam rock, but there was also a 50s revival going on.
Indeed, yeah.
And even at that age, I'd kind of worked out that glam rock was kind of rock and roll in sparkly trousers, you know. So I loved that, and then obviously punk came along, so kind of lived through that. Then the post-punk stuff. So I just had a massive collection, you know, varied collection of records. And the big break for me, I did there was a party. There was a guy called Skater Bobby, who was a roller skater and actor, and was appearing in what's that terrible musical where they're all on roller skates? Something Express.
Starlight
Express, yes. He was
well done. Wasn't rude.
Yeah. His mother had a cafe in Islington, and she'd gone away for the weekend, so he'd organised this party in the cafe, and I DJ'd there. I'd been to the Shum a couple of times. I've met Danny Rampling and various other people, and I played a set at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and he just came up to me at the end. He said, "Oh, that music, that's amazing." He was asking me about various records. And he said, well, you know, come and play at the Shum, which at the time was the kind, you know, was at the hub of a very small, you know, the acid house scene started. It was literally 200 people, split over kind of 2 clubs. Paul Oakenfold was doing the Future, and Danny was doing the Shum, and it kind of expanded a little bit. So I was kind of at the heart of it all quite quickly, and it felt for the first time that I was involved in something that was actually mine. I was still a bit, you know, I was 13 in '76, so although I thought punk rock was mine, it still kind of belonged to the older kids a little bit. But by the time Acid House was starting, I was in my mid-20s, so I actually thought, oh, this is my thing, and I'm at the centre of it, which led to some rather foolish behaviour. I got a little bit precious, you know, you get a bit protective over things, and you know, you start calling people acid Teds in your magazine that you're writing and stuff like that, and get a bit precious about it.
Made yourself loads of mates there, then?
Oh yeah. Well, we did. Yeah, we alienated pretty much the whole of the country. Cockney wankers, you know.